So you hear the wooden xylophone and your lobes are tingling. So you know what time that means. It is.
What
Yeah.
the hell is a wooden xylophone?
What is that? That's our intro music, my
Oh,
friend.
that's what that is.
And I'm assuming that's what that is. It's it's the docking ring opening to the
the audio Oomox.
the audio Oomox.
Audio Oomox is a podcast that comes out every Thursday that features two guys. One guy who eats, sleeps, and poops Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and another guy who may want to eventually do that, but he's got to watch the whole series first.
And more of a casual viewer. We'll just call it that. Right. And a lover of the show and of Trek, but not as I wasn't as religious in my viewing habits.
Right. And the guy who was not religious with his viewing habits is Brian, and my name is Alex. And again, Deep Space Nine is not only a pleasurable viewing experience for me, it's also kind of like space Metamucil, because I do eat, sleep, and puke it. All right, but it's good. So, hey, brother, it's good to be back with you. By the way, last week's episode, I really enjoyed talking with you about Second Sight, which had kind of interesting conceit to it. And I got to be just perfectly blunt with you. I feel that we're in a bit of a lull in the storytelling with DS9. I think their first season was hit or miss at best, and then they finished strong, and then they started strong, and now we're in kind of a valley, in my opinion. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
I would tend to agree. Yes. I think each one has. I think they're trying to latch onto certain story elements or foundational elements or character elements, but I just don't think there's enough there yet for it to flow. Maybe that's what it is.
It's almost as if you wish that there was like a war or something that might
some kind of some catalyst. Conflict or something to make things happen. I would tend to agree.
Yeah, perhaps that will happen down the road. And we do have a great episode to talk about today, but before we do, we've got some fun stuff going on here.
We absolutely do, my friend.
I gotta tell you, I will tell you the one thing, though we may be in a lull with the show itself, the storytelling of the show. I'm excited about our fan reaction to our show, to Audio Oomox. Brian, I mean, dude, we're getting a lot of followers joining us on Facebook.
Right.
We're closing in on, 300 or so there. This recording, we've eclipsed 300 on the Twitter.
Yes.
And we're getting a lot of interaction. Some stuff not as good as others. I mean, I'll just say right now, I had a bad experience with some people. There's kind of a schism in Star Trek right now. The people who... Well, it's a schism.
Yes.
Between people who are more traditionalist about canon, like you and I are, and then there's the people with the new show, the Discovery show, which is taking a lot of liberties with canon. In my opinion, they got Star Trek drunk and took a lot of liberties with it. And
it all started when its abbreviation is STD.
Yeah,
you just know there was some unwanted contact involved there.
Well, and the thing is that the fans of STD are very quick to take offense, and there is a whole there's a whole social justice aspect to it. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I could spend several episodes chatting about on there. But I had posted a contrary on the Twitter. I had posted a contrary video. A link to a video that was very contrary to STD and the people running STD, and it questioned their commitment to actual Trek canon, and it also raised questions about the production schedule of the new Picard show. And anyway, I got some dude came after me on Twitter about it, and I'm just like, I posted a perspective. It may not be right. And I'm not in the business, by the way, of posting bullshit that's wrong all the time, but it's from a source that typically has some pretty good info and some insight, and I posted it. It may not have been correct because the Picard show, by the way, has started production. This video had said that it may not. It was a speculation, but this person got really in my business about it, in my grill, and I ended up just saying, "Listen, you don't like it, unfollow."
Right.
And they did, and I unfollowed them, and adios. I need to make it clear on behalf of our show.
Sure.
We're not here to pick fights. We are not here. Brian and I are old dudes, okay, compared to a lot of fandom. We're older dudes. We've been around the block, and life's too short. I'm not here to fight with you. I will tell you, I have some very strong, real opinions about STD. Brian, not so much. He hasn't watched it yet, and I'm trying not to influence him. Not that he's influenceable. He's got a mind of his own, big time. He's smarter than I'll ever be. But I know he defers to me a lot about this because I take the time to review a lot of information. I'm not crazy about the direction that the JJ Verse and the Kurtzman people have taken Star Trek. I'm not confident that they truly love Star Trek. I'm confident that they like to make money, and I have issues. But that's a very simplistic way of saying I don't like what's going on very much. That's not to say I don't like some aspects of it. And Brian, forgive me just a moment, please. I do like Anson Mount, who played Captain Pike. I thought he did a great job. I'm not crazy about the young Spock. The actor did the best he could. I'm not crazy about the direction the writers took it.
Teen Wolf looking guy?
Kind of Teen Wolf looking, yeah, with the beard and the funny pointy looking. Yeah. He had pointy ears and a pointy beard. It's kind of funny. I'm not at all a big fan of the Michael Burnham character, but we're not here to talk about that today. I've also had some of our own faithful listeners ask me, what do you think about the show? I need guidance. And they actually said the words, I think the word was guidance, or I need your opinion. And all I said was, basically, you got to make your own mind up. I'm going to watch all of it, so you don't have to. I'm going to watch all of it. I am very much of the mind of Robert Meyer Burnett, who did the great fan tribute film, Free Enterprise, 20 years ago. He's also, was it a consultant on Star Trek: The Experience in Vegas. He's very much a super fan, and in many ways, he's a contemporary of Brian and mine in the age group. He's in our age group, buddy, where he just says, listen, I don't think these people running Star Trek right now really know Star Trek. I don't think they really understand it. I don't think that, he doesn't think that, and I don't think that these people have the best interests of the franchise in mind. And that's where we are right now. But this show, Audio Oomox, is not about taking on people who want to fight about that. Our show is about honoring what we think, or what I think at least, is the best Trek, and that's Deep Space Nine.
Sure. And I would say we're comfortable with discussion. We're very comfortable with educated debate. Mm-hmm. It's the fight portion, or when it becomes really attacky, that's where it crosses
and gets personal.
Right. And yeah, we're very happy to have a discussion. If there's an episode, we mentioned it the last couple of weeks. If you want to send a brief audio with a salient point that we missed, or you think we got wrong, or you want to discuss deeper, we'd be happy to do that. We'll put it on the cast.
You'll send that to audioomox@gmail.com.
There you go. So
I thank you for saying that. And so speaking of friends and fans, guess what I hold in my hot little hands right here?
It appears to be an envelope.
Yes, it is a padded envelope addressed to Audio Oomox, care of AGPR, P.O. Box 902119, Kansas City, Missouri 64190. By the way, that address is on our Facebook page in the About section. If you still can't find it, let us know. This is from a certain Michael Finney. Yeah. So Mike, who we love, we're just going to say it. This is probably our first fan, Michael Finney. He has been there from the beginning. I remember, do you remember this, Brian, when he called us out for being a little too sexist about our comments about, what was it, Vosh's ass, or was it Kira's
Yeah,
ass?
who knows? Yeah.
Knowing us, it
I don't
was,
remember exactly what it was, but it was. Yeah, I think it, and we deserved it.
we did. We were being childish.
But we are, yeah, we certainly are okay if we are in the wrong, or there's something, again, if there's something we missed, or something that someone else can contribute, we will always welcome that.
Yeah, and Mike's been great about not only being vocal on social and sharing with other people, he's contributed to the financial well-being of the show. And, what he's contributed to has not been like, like to line our pockets. We've just put out initially a request. When we were going to cancel the show altogether, we just put out a request saying, look, if you want the archives to stay up, we need a little money to keep the archives up. And he's like,
Right.
yeah. And then he marshaled other people to give us some money. And we're like, well, shit, there's people who really do love this show.
Right.
So if you want to keep DS9 Podcast broadcasting on Subspace, we do accept small amounts of money to produce the season 2 episodes here. So give what you can. And there's a link posted and pinned to the top of our Twitter page at Oomox Podcast. It's right there. It's the easiest way to find it. It was posted on March 16th, but it's pinned to the top. And there's a link to our PR firm that you can give some money on PayPal. And literally, we've had folks give as little as $2. We've had people give as much as, I think, $90 or almost $100. If you can give a little bit, here's what the money goes to. Let me just say real quick so people understand. It's not even paying for our tickets to see what we left behind, which we'll get to in a minute. This money goes to keeping the archive of previous episodes up where you can download them at your leisure. It also goes towards promoting the social media and promoting the show itself. And if there's some show-related expenses, like, if we need postage or something like that, it goes to that. But that's it.
Right.
There ain't a cent that's going for Brian and me getting beers or cocktails. It's just not. We're not there. We'd love it if it were, but it's not there yet.
The Tranya is still on our own dime.
Definitely. I think first I should open this. So what we say, if you have a Trek item in your basement that your spouse has requested you move along because you need some help.
Move along home.
Move along home with the catamaran. Here's what we're saying, though. We'll take it from you, and we will recycle it for you to our guests, our listeners. Should I go ahead and open this sucker up and see what Mike's in this?
Tear into it.
There's a little, here it says pull tab to open. I'm very excited. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Just rip into this sucker. And what do we have here? We have, there is, okay, there's no, oh! It is a paperback copy of Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, by now late, who just passed away a few months ago, Vonda N. McIntyre, based on a screenplay by Harv Bennett, who's also passed on. This is the paperback version. There's an envelope here. Oh, this is typical Finney, though. Finney, such a sweet guy. Alex and Brian, thank you for the good you do and being wonderful people. Sincerely, Mike, a.k.a. Finney Can Help. Oh, jeez.
That is awesome.
This is total. I'm going to photograph
Thank you
that.
so much. Yeah,
Mike,
that's
we
fantastic.
love you. We love you, Mike. And here's what's going to happen. That's going to enter like the prize closet, the vault. This is going to be Quark's. This is going to go into Quark's floor safe. Down the road, it'll be used as a giveaway for our listeners. So, Mike, you may get it back. Who knows? But the way it goes is this, by the way. We promised a while back that if we got, like, what was it, 100?
It was our first 100.
Which we blew past that so fast.
Correct.
We now have, what, almost 300?
Almost 300, yes.
So by the time you're hearing this, there will be a post with this show on the Facebook page. You have to go look. And here's how you're eligible to win a prize. It's a couple of things. It's easy peasy, lemon squeezy. First things first, if you like our page, you're on our follower list. So what will happen is we will take the follower list and assign a random number to each follower, and then we'll use a random number generator, and then the computer working will pick the winner. And then what we'll do is we'll DM the winner and say, hey, you've won this prize. Do you want the prize? If so, You have to write back within 3 days. Let us know your mail address. It won't be shared with anybody. Yeah, it can't be your email. We need to like mail you a physical thing. If you win and you don't share your personal address in 3 days, we're going to move on to somebody else. Or if you write back and say, thanks guys, I love you, but I don't need you to mail me anything. That's fine too. And if you live outside the United States, that might also be an issue too, because it's pretty freaking expensive to send anything of substance outside the country. We'll just kind of play it for now. But here's the thing I want to leave you with today on this. Please let us know if you do not want to be in consideration. Save us some time and effort. If it's like, hey, listen, I'm happy to follow the page. I'll listen to the show, but I don't want to be anything mailed to me, so don't even ask. And then what we'll do is we'll just take you out of the running. You just have to leave a comment on this post that we're talking about on Facebook and say, hey, thanks. Not interested in receiving a present gift to somebody else. And so that's what will happen. You'll be taken out of the running forever. No problem. Does that make sense there, Brian?
Perfect.
But we're not giving away Finney's book. We have something else. And are we going to tell about that on the Facebook page that day, or?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
We can do that. We'll take a picture of it, post it.
Yes.
And then we'll do a formal announcement next week.
Yeah, and I tell you, it's fun. You might just want it. It's kind of cool. If you've got a little Star Trek area in your home, it'd be great, suitable for framing. I'll leave it at that.
Exactly. Did we want to mention what we left behind?
Yes. All right. You will also note that as of this week, we are closing in on just not very much longer
until a week away. Yeah.
May 13th day for What We Left Behind, the Star Trek documentary, or the Star Trek Deep Space Nine documentary, produced by Ira Stephen Bear, the former showrunner of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. It promises to be incredible, not just because it's a look back and the interviews and all that stuff, but there's also some wonderful HD footage that's included in this thing. And Fathom Events is being so cool as to show it. You don't have to wait and buy the DVD or see if it's going to stream somewhere. You can go to your local theater and watch it. And guess what? If you live in Chicago,
I will be in the northwest suburbs at the Century Theater in Deer Park.
Where is Deer Park a town, or what is that?
It's a township in the northwest suburbs. Yes.
Yeah, so that's not obviously not downtown Chicago.
No. This is out. It's probably half an hour or more north of the airport, if you're familiar with O'Hare and where it sits relative to Chicago.
But here's the good news: we're going to create an event on Facebook, which will have a map directly there, so you can just get directions, and you can watch What We Left Behind with whomever you choose. But guess who's going to be there? Your very own Brian, who from the Audio Oomox podcast. Brian, you're going to be there.
Yes.
I think the plan we're coming up with, and we'll put more details in the post, but the plan is basically that you're going to be there, and when it's over, what?
I would love to, turn on my memos on my phone and get some initial thoughts, some comments and commentary from any of our friends and fans that have attended the show with me.
That would be so great.
Yeah, we'll find a way to make it easier for you to find me, other than looking for a bald-headed middle-aged guy. Because I dollars to donuts, I'm not the only bald-headed middle-aged guy that will be at this screen.
Well, you thought about wearing your Picard outfit, because you do fairly resemble Patrick Stewart when you're wearing your uniform.
I have my moments.
But we don't want you to get ridiculed or assaulted. But so and we're super fans, but we're not quite that far usually. You wear that costume at Halloween, but it does look great. I envy you your page.
My dome.
Yeah, because you look great. Folks, remember, we record these about a week ahead, so by the time you're hearing this, like I said, they'll be on the Facebook. There'll be a post, and then so for that one, it'll be for the Chicago one. That's to meet with Brian, the beat up with Brian after. Now, Brian got to be at work the next morning, so he can't stay out late, but he would love if there's a few of you who want to just say, hey, I thought it was great. What he'll do, he'll hold out his phone. He'll say, give you your name, where you live, What did you think of the thing? You'll get that. Also, I'm going to try to make sure. Oh, I better get on this. I've got to make sure. Maybe we'll have a card he can give you with information on the show and all that stuff,
Right.
and just so you can remember how to contact us, and also to remember to check the show. And remember that anything he records that Monday will not be in that following Thursday show. It will be, unless we do a red alert. Unless we do a red alert, which we don't know at this recording, we might do a red alert like the Wednesday, and do like a regular episode and a red alert. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. It's a lot of work. Okay, Brian will be doing that. So I, by the way, not to be outdone, but further south in the Midwest, I will be in the Kansas City area at the Berry Woods Crossing AMC. That's right off I-29 at 8121 North Rowan Ridge Road in Kansas City. There will be a separate event set up on our Facebook page for that one. And same thing, I have hair, but I don't look like anybody in Star Trek, unfortunately. But my thinking is just maybe I'll hang back at the end of the theater, and I don't know if I'll hold up a sign, like a little, print out a piece of 8x11 paper that says, "Hey, Audio Oomox," or I'll just like, "Hey, anybody want to talk to my podcast?" I don't know. I don't want to get run out of the theater, or anything like that, and I don't want to be a weirdo. But we'd love to talk to people. I'd assume anybody who's watching this are going to be hardcore Niners, so it would be cool. And I may, who knows, depending on how it's going before the show starts, maybe a minute or two before, I might stand up and say, "Hey, listen, I'm with the Audio Oomox Deep Space Nine podcast. I will be in this corner at the end. If anybody wants to come and give me a quick interview, I'd love to talk to you about the show." And that may be the way I do it. I don't know. We'll just find out. I used to be a reporter. It's not like I'm afraid to talk to people. It's just, but it's a little awkward, and I don't want to. Again, I don't want to disturb people. But so we'll just see. It might be that we even ask that on these event pages. We just say, "Listen, if you're going for sure and you're going to want to talk to me, give me your name, and let's
absolutely
and do that."
Yeah.
But we know how these things go. People are on the fly. But I've got my ticket. You got your ticket, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We've had some nice appreciation from the DS9 documentary people saying thanks for posting this and that kind of thing. So they know what we're doing, and certainly seem to support our efforts to
that's great.
Talk about it. So we're going to do that. So gosh, man, so much going on here. Are we even going to talk about a show, or is there anything else?
There was actually an episode that we watched last week, Sanctuary, which is an interesting episode. I thought it tried to cover too many topics. I think was part of the problem. So it starts with Kira is just so busy dealing with the people on Bajor that she apparently doesn't have time to do her daily tasks for Commander Sisko, and he calls her on it, which I thought that was some pretty good management technique. If you didn't pay attention to that and Quark, rewatch it and focus on it from a management training perspective, because without getting overly emotional, Commander Sisko made sure to emphasize he understood Kira, but then but also wanted to make sure to communicate to her that he needed something from her, and that the importance of her to honor deadlines that she has set and committed to for herself. I thought that was a really good, just a 1 minute management training thing. The other thing I thought was very funny from a management perspective was Quark. So the next scene, Kira goes down to the bar, and who is there? Varani is there playing his pan flute or whatever it was he was playing. And little side note, apparently he wrote, Varani is the author of the DS9 theme music. So I don't know what kind of a time, quantum time thing allowed a piece of music written in the 24th century to then become the theme music from a 20th century. Where was it going? Oh, okay, so anyway, everyone was just mesmerized by the music. No one was spending any money, and
Right.
then Quark was quick to tell Kira that he's I can't remember the exact quote, but that the these snapshots become projections, and then the projections become the prophet, and he just walked through, and that's kind of my life on my day job is it's so focused on you look at the daily numbers become the monthly numbers become your EBITs, and anyway, I found that interesting,
I
but
did too.
I digress.
Well,
So,
and I was just saying, as I do, I want to jump in real quick. And
mhm.
so, Verani is being played by the late great William Shatner,
Mm-hmm.
who hawk-eyed members of the Star Trek community and family will recognize as the man who played Nils Barris in the classic The Trouble with Tribbles.
Oh yes,
Um,
absolutely, yeah.
he was Barris being your typical stick up the ass bureaucrat who was a great problem to Captain Kirk. But it's interesting and nice to see Shallert playing kind of a laid back,
Mm-hmm.
Yanni type guy.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, and it was so that was one of the first things. They go down to the bar he's playing, and so this is the first topic that could have been its own entire episode that they just gloss over, and
Yeah.
that is the importance of art in a culture.
Ooh.
And so they he talked about it. There were some kind of a couple of throwaway lines about how important it is, how he wanted to rebuild this performance theater
Oh,
or
right.
performance hall.
Right.
But then that storyline kind of goes away. That was really they kind of
Yeah.
mention it, but that could be an entire story of the and I could see how that could be sacrificed during a time of occupation, but how important it is to bring it back as quickly as possible, because it gives you a sense of harmony, a sense of vision, a sense of history are all really locked into artistic expression. That's why it's so important to keep it in schools. But so that's storyline one that came out and then really kind of disappeared.
That's a great point. It really it's very much thrown away in this episode, isn't it? It kind of leads you
Yeah,
in, and then it's like, we're going to talk about something else.
yeah, exactly. And then I think he comes back and he gives her his a signed copy of his CD or something,
Yeah.
and and then it was and then kind of goes on his way. Okay, so now the next thing that happens is another group comes flying through the wormhole, just one vessel, and it's kind of fallen apart.
Junkie Joe kind of ship. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they beam them aboard quickly because they can't communicate with them, and and they're afraid that the vessel's going to just be destroyed. So they beam them on board, and it's a group called the Screans. Is that
I
correct?
think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They face yet another problem. The Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra problem.
That's so funny you should say that. By the way, that was on today.
Oh, was it? That's a
Over
great
lunch
episode.
on BBC
One of my
America.
favorites.
That's so funny. I thought of you. I was
Shaka.
when the walls fell.
So this is one of my BS moments, which is the universal translator figuring out with how many sentences did they speak. I could understand the universal translator picking up syntax and grammar, maybe, without having a vocabulary key. I don't know how it could have possibly, no matter how advanced the AI is, you still need the vocabulary. But I'll suspend disbelief.
Well,
I
you
thought it
have to.
was. Anyway, the Skreans are led by a young Conan O'Brien. And no, it's not.
Yeah, and there's no Andy Richter there, which is disappointing.
And that gets us into into the second thing that could be a whole storyline and was in some other in the Next Generation, and is that it's a female-led culture, and so they use this female-led culture as an excuse to spin some male stereotype trope, but never dive that deeply into the value of what a female-led culture would have over a male-dominated culture.
Right.
So it was just it's almost as if the women just take their turn and demean the men. So as opposed to there being some kind of an equality. So it didn't promote equality. It just promoted something different. So I was challenged by that. I was also challenged by these farm people and pale with red hair. I mean, it was this Irish tropey immigrant story that has been was told on the Next Generation as well, that with all its set stereotypes about all the negative stuff against Irish immigrants 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And I found that kind of annoying. But
I didn't quite get to that level with it, but I see your point.
Yeah. So back to the story a little bit. The universal translator finally starts working. Kira, because she's a woman and an authority figure, makes a really good connection with this with the leader.
Hanik.
And Anik.
Hanik, yeah.
Hanik.
Played by, and you have to do this because our next show will be about this, played by Deborah May, who played Melanie Parrish, the network executive on Hey Now. The Larry Sanders Show.
Oh, so that's the second Larry Sanders link. Very interesting.
Yeah, so far.
So does Gary show up?
Oh, I wish.
Is he a Dominion?
Oh, man.
Okay.
He would have been wait, can I just say? Gary Shanley would have been a tremendous, oh my God. He would have been a tremendous Vorta. Like Wei-Yun.
A pretty good Ferengi too.
Oh, yeah, true. I would still love to see Gary play a Vorta though. Yeah. Can you see him like trying to be like a Wei-Yun, kind of an unctuous Wei-Yun type? Oh, God, yeah. We miss you, Gary. Yeah. We miss you.
Anyway, so we start learning some history of this group, that they're not the only ones. There are 3 million displaced Skreans. And they've scattered along the quadrant. They were just the first ones to find the wormhole, but they're looking for a new place to settle. And they had some stories passed down that there was a place. Quintana, yes, they're looking for Quintana, which is, I guess, their second home, kind of a Battlestar Galactica thing. Looking for the next place to settle. After some minimal exploration, looking out the window of Deep Space Nine, they believe that it's Bajor. So they try and find a spot on Bajor where it's not heavily inhabited. They believe that they have the skills to farm it, and are asked nothing but just a little tract of land that they could call their own. Mm-hmm. Concurrently, though, Commander Sisko is going out of his way to find a habitable planet that they could call their own, get the whole place to themselves. Something with a decent climate, class M, tick all the boxes off that they need, and he finds one for them, but they don't want that. They want Bajor. They believe that's their place, and they believe that they could live in harmony. So we get into now the final thing that I really wanted to comment on, which is there was a real racism plot line that could have gone significantly deeper, or at least been better resolved, between Quark and all these people and the Skreans,
Yeah.
and Bajor and the Skreans. Very interesting. I think it's very topical today, given all of the immigration discussions and debate that's been going on.
Mm-hmm.
A heavy influx of immigrants, particularly from Central America, coming here, and now you've got these vocal groups of people that are opposing them, saying, we don't have room, which is exactly what Bajor said.
Yeah.
And people saying, you're different. You look different. You smell different. You dress different. You eat different. I mean, that's happening. That's happening today, just as it was when this was filmed.
So is your point that
Almost 30 years
it's
ago.
just a kind of a built-in or inbuilt thing that species do?
I thought the storyline was topical. I just wish they had done a little better job of addressing it, resolving it,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to just kind of tossing it out there, as that was one of the objections that forced them off the planet of their dreams, or of their desires.
Yeah.
And then I think we do face some of those same things today. I think that was the other point that I was trying to make, is that
do you think that the Bajorans honestly had a fear of the Skreans, or do you think it really was what they said? We are just getting on our feet again. We just can't take an influx of millions of people.
It was. I think it was some of both. I think their fear was that the Skreans would not be a benefit to the planet, which they believed they would be, because they're farmers,
Right.
and they know how to farm land that's difficult to farm, apparently.
Right. Well, they claim to. Yeah.
They claim to. They asked for nothing. They believed that they wouldn't be a burden, but I think the Bajorans were afraid that they would be, back to modern day, that they would be a burden on society, not a contributor to society,
Right.
while history shows otherwise.
I have to say, I felt some sympathy. And I know we're jumping around as usual, but when the Bajorans meet with Hanik, and by the way, that the woman playing the Bajoran minister,
Yes,
was the actress Kitty Swink, married to our own Armin Shimmerman Quark.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's
Very nice.
one of a couple of appearances she makes on the show. She did a nice job.
Cool. So you were saying they met. So you felt for the Bajorans?
I understood.
Right.
Though the Skreans made a point of, we could be beneficial, we can basically earn our keep. I also understood that after years of occupation, Bajor was in no shape economically to take care of potentially millions of new people. Right. Although it's interesting, anytime you get a look at Bajor in this show, unless it's a flashback, it looks idyllic.
Right.
I mean,
it looks like
like nothing ever happened. Go to the monastery where Vedic Kurail and Hero were hanging out, much to the chagrin of Vedic Wynn. Yes. It looks perfect, like nothing ever happened to it, and Even if you look at what was it? Was it One of the Moons of Bajor that on the first season they had a thing happen where the late Brian Keith was a guy who didn't want to be moved. It looked
Right.
fine. I mean, so I think they could have done a better job of maybe showing a ravaged Bajor. And
Right.
frankly, now that I'm kind of off on this tip,
Mm-hmm.
it might have helped sell. It might have helped to sell the case of how basically raped the planet was by the Cardassians if it looked like it.
Right. Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Show some war torn cities.
So
So
show some
show.
strip mine places. Show some
Right.
and I think that's where they dropped the ball. I
Right.
don't do you, I mean maybe I'm wrong and listeners please tell us, but I don't recall ever seeing anything from Bajor unless it was in a flashback. But the Bajor of current day as the show was progressing, I never saw anything that was what I would perceive as something bad happened there once.
Right. Yeah. Interesting point. Interesting point. So maybe yeah, it's not not as either. It's not as bad, or more likely it's we just didn't see that, or they didn't show it.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I mean, totally. I don't think
Yeah.
that. I don't think at all
It's
it
from a
is.
storytelling standpoint.
Yeah,
You're saying.
that's what. Yeah, my fault is
Fair,
with
yeah.
that. There's no subterfuge. I mean, the planet
Right.
clearly was occupied, but they just made the show did a bad job of demonstrating that in the here and now.
Right. Right. So, and then one last point I wanted to make. Okay, so what? Well, just to finish the story, I guess.
Sure, please.
So they had the big debate, and they said they'll think about it, and ultimately they said no, we can't take them. Sent them on their way. But the one point I wanted to make was the reason that these people were in exile was because of the Dominion. And so again, it's kind of just a little snippet. So we don't know what the Dominion did to their planet, but obviously, whatever they did, it made it either completely uninhabitable, or it was destroyed.
Right.
And so they were forced to leave the planet. So it just another little tidbit that lets you see the Dominion are they're pretty serious group of folk out there.
Indeed.
So anyway, so that was the other point that I wanted to make. So,
and I guess where we get to the end of the episode, let's just get there. After a lot of things happen, and it ends on a pretty dark note, and the Bajorans reject the Skrians, and they're kind of sent out the door with a flea in their ear, and they're going to send them to Daytona 500 or someplace. I don't remember what it's called. And they're like, well, this is not Quintana, and then the last thing that Hanik says is, yeah, by the way, Bajor isn't either. It's not this great promised land.
yeah.
And this is after a supporting character, was it Tumak or something like that? Young boy, a teenager.
Oh, that's right.
Who
grabbed a vessel
and basically died in the process. Played by Andrew Koenig. Andrew Koenig, for those of you who are paying attention at home, here's another casting. Is it son of Walter Koenig, Mr. Chekhov from the original series.
Oh wow! Okay,
yeah. Andrew, and Andrew had some success as an actor. A variety of things. You can feel free to look him up. It's Andrew Koenig. Sadly, he was suffering. He was 40, 41 years old, suffering from some depression, some issues, and ended up taking his own life. And a source of obvious major heartbreak for his family. But I thought Andrew did a nice job here as Termac and there. But so we have Kitty Swink, we have Andrew Koenig, we have William Schaller, we have all these kind of members of the Star Trek family in this episode. There's another actor, Leland Orser, who had a smaller part in this one. He appears in several other iterations of Star Trek as well. So you have a lot of solid cast backing a story that I think the whole sanctuary theme resonates then in the 90s, and it resonates now, obviously now, as there's a lot of people amassing on the American
Right.
southern border looking for sanctuary from uh, not trumped up by any means, pardon the pun, charges of the homeland they leave being horrible, um,
Right.
violence and that kind of thing. We're not here to discuss the politics, but the plight of the refugee is never one of comfort. It's never one of surety. It's never one of guarantee. I've thought about this in my own life, particularly lately when things politically, in my opinion, have gone so off the rails in my country. But it's like, but what must it be like to pick up and leave your own country? So in their case, your own
Sure.
world, and just basically